The stripe lands in Minecraft Bedrock are the equivalent to Minecraft Java's far lands. Very few players will ever reach this phenomenon in survival, with the best way to see them being in creative mode and having access to commands. Before we get into this topic, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're new, it really does help out a lot. The stripe lands are caused by the game considering every 1 out of 2 blocks to become invalid and then not be rendered. The game becomes increasingly broken the further away from spawn that you go, and in this video I will discuss each of the milestones and share a couple of the main features from each milestone. I will be traveling along the x-axis during the examples, so movement along the y-axis might look normal, but movement up and down the x-axis will show how the game distorts and breaks. 16,384 blocks is where the game slowly begins to stop working efficiently. It is extremely difficult to see for most people, but at this point there is a slight jitteriness to the movement of the player. However, most people will be able to play normally in this section of the world. At 131,072 blocks, the jitteriness is much more noticeable. It's extremely horrible and only gets worse the further out you go. Luckily, this is the only problem at this stage. 262,144 blocks is where the jitteriness becomes noticeable in mobs. Also, some of the models become glitchy, and sunflowers are a great example of this as it starts to render wrong. At 524,288 blocks, it is incredibly easy to see the jitteriness in movement, and it only gets worse from here, so it's going to be the last time that I mention it because you'll be able to see it. On top of this, some items like paintings start to break. You can get them to place through solid blocks, even get them to overlap, and in some cases you can get 2 paintings to be in the same block space. 1,048,576 blocks, some items like cacti and torches begin to render incorrectly. At 2,097,152 blocks, movement speeds up and slows down drastically as you move over the x-axis in this example. This is the stage where items can fall through the world, making it super dangerous for anyone coming here in survival. 4,194,304 blocks is the last place anyone can walk on the ground. Going over this coordinate will cause the player to immediately fall through the floor. Therefore, travel can only be done on horses, by water, ender pearls, or elytras in survival. It is also possible to see mountain corruption from here, which is really cool if you find an ancient city in one of the holes. At 8,388,608 blocks, any entity that is less than 1 block high or wide will fall through the world. This means if you're flying in survival, you'll need to stop before you reach this, because if you don't, you won't be able to restock any of your rockets. At 16,777,216 blocks out is where the stripe lands begin to happen, as long as the other axis is below 16,777,216 blocks. Movement over the invalid blocks is not possible unless you have an ender pearl or you're flying with an elytra. As I said at the start of the video, this is caused by 1 out of every 2 blocks being invalid and not rendering. At 16,777,216 blocks on both the X and the Z axis is where the sky grid forms. This is a combination of where both stripe lands from the X and the Z axis combine and count more blocks as invalid and therefore don't render them in. Movement in this section with an elytra is almost impossible, but you can still do it. The game does actually break even more further out, however the max distance anyone can teleport is 30 million blocks. If you have the time, the device, and the patience to go further out, I suggest you give it a try. However, if you want to try a game mode that isn't as broken, check out this recommended video here.